Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I brought a very interesting though a bit complicated topic for all you guys. If you actually understand this topic, I have tried to simplify it as simple as I can. I have tried to make it. So let's start with the concept of primary immunodeficiency. As the name suggests, primary immunodeficiency, you can rule out the secondary causes of immunodeficiency, which can be malignancy, right? HIV, diabetes, immunosuppressant intake, malnutrition, all these causes should be excluded. Then it comes primary immunodeficiency without any secondary cause. In order to understand the concept of PID, let's start with as soon as the foreign agent enters your body, it has to interact with your innate immunity, which gives a first-hand experience of your body to the foreign agent, which constitutes four important parts. First is phagocytes. Phagocytes are a very important component of innate immunity. Next is complement proteins. Third is NK cell. And fourth one is epithelial barrier, right? Any defect, right from phagocytes, complement proteins, NK cells, epithelial barriers will lead to defect in the innate immunity, or we can say are the cause of PID, right? So this is innate immunity. Next, what can phagocyte do? First, it can take that foreign agent. Invagination of membrane will form phagosome that will fuse with the lysosome, which has got a large number of lysosomal enzymes, and that can kill the foreign agent. This is one of the mechanisms through which the phagocytes can act. Second thing is it can activate the T cells, right? It can activate the T cells along with the release of large number of cytokines. Once these T cells are activated, they can get differentiated into CD4 helper cells or CD8 cytotoxic cells. Now, these CD4 helper cells will help the B lymphocytes to get activated and produce antibodies, right? These B cells can help the B lymphocytes to activate and form antibodies. This is your adaptive immunity. This is your adaptive immunity, which gives a stronger reaction to your foreign agent along with the immunological memory developed to your foreign agent. Any defect in the T lymphocytes or the B lymphocytes or the antibodies will lead to the defect in the adaptive immunity, right? So you understand how this concept of innate immunity and adaptive immunity works. Now, let's see the lymphocytes. Okay, this is the common hematopoietic progenitor cell, which can develop either into myeloid progenitors or lymphoid progenitors. Now, let's concentrate on lymphoid progenitors, which form a very important component of immunity, that is adaptive immunity. Now, this lymphoid stem cell can get activated and result in formation of either B cell or T cell, precursors, or we can say pre-B or pre-T. This requires the presence of an enzyme called as ADA, adenosine deaminase. Any deficiency of this enzyme will result in the formation of a disease called as autosomal recessive SCID. Because the defect is in both the P and T cells, it leads to combined immunodeficiency or combined B plus T cell defect. Next, once this pre-T cell has been formed, the proliferation and development of these precursor T lymphocytes, mainly also precursor B lymphocytes, any defect in this development or proliferation of these precursor lymphoid cells, mostly T precursor cells, leads to development of disease called as X-linked SCID. So what is SCID? SCID is the defect in the proliferation and development of precursor T lymphocytes. Because this is X-linked, can you remember it occurs mostly in boys? Because it is X-linked, it occurs mostly in boys. Another thing you have to remember is there is also a defect in the cytoplasmic chain, which is required for formation of interleukin 15. Defect in this interleukin 15 will in turn lead to defect in the NK cells. So in X-linked skit, there is a defect at the level of T cells, also B cells, plus defect in the NK cells, and also it occurs mostly in boys. Next, once this precursor or immature T cells are formed, they have to get converted into mature lymphocytes, mature T lymphocytes, that is CD4 and CD8. Any defect in this maturation will lead to a defect. For example, Diegauss syndrome is due to defective thymus development. What is Diegauss syndrome? It is due to defective thymus development, which is required for maturation of T cells. So in Diegauss syndrome, there is defect in the development of third and fourth pharyngeal pouches, and due to this defect, there is defect in the thymus development and thus defect in the T cell maturation. Also, there is defect in the parathyroid gland and thus leads to hypocalcemic tetany. Along with that, there is defect in the midline. Defects will be there, or you can say defect in the heart development. This is your Diegauss syndrome. Next, once the CD4 or CD8 T cells are developed, if there is any defect in the MHC complex, MHC2 for CD4 and MHC1 for CD8, there will in turn be a defect in the T cell response. So that is called as Bayer lymphocyte syndrome. So if MHC2 defect is there, CD4 defect will be there, because the CD4 cells are in turn required for B cell activation. Again, it becomes a B plus T cell immunodeficiency. So understanding why I am saying combined immunodeficiency, because this T lymphocyte is helping, T helper cells are helping the B lymphocytes to get activated and produce antibody, right? So once these T cells help the B lymphocytes to form antibodies. Now, next, we will see at the level of B lymphocytes. Once these immature B cells are formed, they have to get matured, and any defect in this maturation, for example, Bruton's A gamma globulinemia, is X-linked, and there is defect in tyrosine kinase pathway required for maturation of B lymphocytes. Because it is X-linked, it occurs mostly in boys. The defect is in the tyrokinase level, and because mature B cells are not formed, there is deficiency of immunoglobulin, because these mature cells, B cells, have to get converted into plasma cells to form antibodies. So A gamma globulinemia, deficiency of immunoglobulins, will lead to recurrent infections. Next, common variable immunodeficiency due to multiple mechanisms again lead to defect in the maturation of B cells and thus defect in the antibodies. Also, there is a defect in the signaling of CD4 T cells, which is required for activation of B lymphocytes, and this activation does not occur and the subsequent immunoglobulins are also not formed. This common variable immunodeficiency also presents with clinical features similar to Bruton, because in both the cases there is deficiency of immunoglobulins, but because it is not X-linked, it occurs with equal prevalence in males and females. In common variable immunodeficiency, there is equal prevalence of disease amongst males and females. Next, once these lymphocytes are formed and IgM is formed, there has to be an isotype switching in order to develop other antibodies like IgA, IgG. This isotype switching requires CD40 ligand. Any defect in this CD40 ligand will lead to deficiency of other immunoglobulins and will either lead to hyper IgM syndrome. So hyper IgM syndrome occurs due to defect in the CD40 ligand. Next, selective IgA deficiency will occur if the selective defect in the B cell plasma cell required for IgA formation is defective. Two things you have to remember. In fact, it is the most common cause of antibody defect. Most common cause of antibody defect. And second, there is increased risk of anaphylactic reactions in case of blood transfusion, because there the Ig will act as a foreign agent and cause severe anaphylactic reaction. Next, I hope the level of deficiency is clear. It can be at the level of phagocyte, complement protein, NK cell, right? It can be due to defect in B lymphocyte, antibody defect, or T lymphocyte. In fact, combined B and T lymphocyte defect can be there. To remember, very important thing is this antibody defect is the most common type of PID, which constitutes about 70% cases of PID. 70% cases of PID are due to antibody defect. Next, second most common is combined B and T cell defect. Third most common is phagocytic defect. Fourth most common is complement defect, and fifth is T lymphocyte defect. So this is the prevalence of the disease. Most common is antibody defect. From this only you can see that as antibody defect is most common, if you suspect PID, when will you suspect PID? When the child has severe recurrent infections at unusual sites due to unusual pathogens and unusual severity of the common childhood pathogens will be seen. Doctor should suspect PID, and because antibody deficiency is the most common type of PID, what will you think? What first test the doctor should ask for? It is the antibody levels. It is the antibody levels, IgG, IgA, IgM, right? Next most common is B plus T lymphocyte. In order to detect B lymphocyte defect or T lymphocyte defect, what you should order? You should order lymphocyte subset analysis. Okay, so for B lymphocyte, what are the markers you will order? You will ask for CD19, 20 for B lymphocyte, CD3 for T lymphocyte, and CD16 and 56 for NK cells. So this is the common lymphocyte subset analysis by flow cytometry you should ask for. Next, this is for subset analysis. Okay, one more thing. In order to detect the functional antibody levels, you can do another test, that is you record the antibody titer before giving pneumococcal vaccine, and then you again record the antibody titers after giving this vaccine, and you see if there is any increase in the levels of antibodies. That is the functional test in order to detect antibody deficiency. Next, what will you do to detect T cell deficiency? See, if you remember tuberculin skin test, alright, it was based on contact hypersensitivity or type 4 hypersensitivity, which is cell mediated immunity or T lymphocyte mediated immunity. So here also we are using the same basis, and in order to detect the T lymphocyte detect, we should ask for Candida or tetanus skin test. So skin test. Alright. Third was a phagocytic defect. In order to diagnose phagocytic defect, I told you NADPH oxidase enzyme was required in order to form superoxide ions required for killing of microbes. If this NADPH oxidase enzyme is present, that can be detected with NBT test. It is a colorless compound which in the presence of this oxidase enzyme will get converted into blue-black formazine compound, and it can be detected if this enzyme is present. Next, DHR assay. What is it? If this NADPH oxidase enzyme is present, that will be converted into rhodamin, and that can be detected with the help of fluorescent signal intensity. It is a more sensitive assay because it is based on the principle of flow cytometry. Right? So this was the third most common defect, phagocytic defect. NBT test and DHR assay based on the presence of NADPH oxidase. Next, in order to detect any defect in the complement proteins, you can ask for complement levels C2, C3, C5, factor H. C2 can detect early complement deficiency, C3 for common pathway, C5 for late complement deficiency, and factor H for alternative complement deficiency, right? This is the fourth complement defect. And fifth one is T cell defect. I told you can do skin test based on contact hypersensitivity principle. Also you can ask for chest x-ray. Now think about it. Why chest x-ray? In order to visualize the thymus. Because if thymus is not seen and the patient is coming with hypocalcemic tetany, you can think about Digot syndrome. Right? So this is the principle of PID. I hope you have understood that why this PID occurs, at what level the defect can be there, and how can we understand the pathophysiology and use it to understand the diagnostic part of my video. Then please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the bell icon, and please like and share as well. Thank you.